Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. I'm so glad to see so many people here as we honor our outgoing city manager. Please find your tables and take a seat. That includes you, Henry. I don't think it's going to happen. It is a distinct pleasure to welcome you all here this evening as we honor our outgoing city manager of 18 years, Mr. Henry Tingle. My name is Jeannie Bruins, and I'm the mayor of Citrus Heights this year. Thank you. We have a lot of guests, family members, distinguished invited guests from near and far, and throughout the evening they will be acknowledged accordingly. But right now I would like you all to stand as the color guard. Please join me as we honor our country by pledging our allegiance.
Present. Arm.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. Arm.
Let's have a hand for our honor guard. You may be seated. We are here tonight to pay honor to a man that we have all grown to know and love in a very special way. Each of us has stories that we could tell about Henry Tingle, and some of us may get that opportunity tonight. But it is my joy and sorrow to honor him in his retirement, a retirement that's so richly deserved, but sorry because life won't be quite the same without him. But we are here tonight to send him on his way, knowing that he's just a phone call away, and he can never get beyond our arm's reach. So I'd like to welcome this evening our Master of Ceremonies, our former Congressman, the Honorable Doug Osee.
Good evening. Oh, come on. This is a celebration. Good evening. There we go. So Mayor Bruins was very kind to me. I walked in and they hand me the agenda and I go, she left her glasses up here for me to use. So there will be no pictures of me in pink glasses, okay? We all know the purpose of this evening. But I have to say, when I was sitting there with Jack and next to Jeannie's spot, I looked up on the stage. You see that picture with Henry with that python around his neck? I'm just going, are you out of your mind? He was as big as he was. I was going, who's eating whom, you know? So tonight we're going to have, as Henry would insist, we're going to have a timely production this evening. We started on time. We're going to proceed as follows. The wait staff is going to incrementally release tables to go through the buffet line over here. So please remain seated at your table until the wait staff comes over and blesses your parade. Dessert trays are going to be delivered to each table with champagne, so please save champagne for a special toast to a special person at the end of the evening. And then the formal tributes for Henry will commence after dinner. Now, Henry and I go back, not to high school, but far enough. So we're going to have some, as do many of the people here. I mean, there's a lot of dignitaries here, as you might expect. People from the county, from the state. There's a representative from Congressman Barra's office. The governor's not here. He should be. The president's not here. He should be. but we are all here and we're going to have fun. So we're going to start here with dinner. We're going to start with dinner here. We're actually going to be ahead of time. In Henry's life, 5 minutes ahead of schedule is on time. So we're going to authorize the band to play early. Wait staff, pick your tables. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have dinner, and we'll convene back here precisely at 7:45. Enjoy your meal. So I want to take a moment here before we start with the presentations to introduce a couple of the dignitaries who are here with us tonight, who have served this community and or this region for a number of years. And I know I'm going to miss some of you, and if I do, then take it out on me, don't take it out on anybody else. So first of all, I want to introduce one of the founding members of the Citrus Heights City Council, former councilman, Mr. James Shelby. Right there. Also joining us tonight is someone who was absolutely the heart and soul of making Citrus Heights a city, taking his case at great personal expense all the way to the United States Supreme Court to defend your right and mine to vote on our own self-determination. That's my friend, Bill Van Duker. We're also joined tonight by someone who has come to know Henry in a professional sense, who has not served this city but has served another municipality in this area and done so well, to all of our benefit in a collective sense, and that is Mr. John Shirey. John, where are you? Told you I'd get even for that. Okay, so what I need, this is not a request, I need Jocelyn Dorland, I need Jim Nielsen's rep, and I need Ken Cooley up here. And I need our guest of honor. Henry, we have a chair for him. Ladies and gentlemen, Henry Tingle. Protocol dictates that we start with the national representative. Joining us from Congressman Bera's office this evening is Jocelyn Dorland. Jocelyn, please.
Good evening, everyone. So on behalf of Congressman Bera's office, we just wanted to congratulate Mr. Henry Tingler for 16 years of service and commitment to the city of Citrus Heights, and for everything that he was able to accomplish. To be here in this room, he obviously commands an incredible amount of respect. This obviously served as an inspiration for the community, and so it's really congratulations. So yeah, on behalf of Congressman Bera's office, I'd like to present you with this certificate of congressional recognition. And thank you again for everything that you've been able to accomplish. So just a certificate of congressional recognition presented to Henry Tingle in recognition of 16 years of service as the city manager of Citrus Heights. Thank you.
Thank you, Jocelyn. Okay, Henry, did we back? Oh, good. We got some help here. It's good staff work, man. She is making you look good. I'm telling you. Is that Debbie? That's Debbie. Okay. All right. Something you want to share with us about Debbie? She's among the best. Oh, you have a microphone here, but that's not for you yet. You have to talk to me, and I'll tell them. Okay? I'm always good. So, but I know you're bigger, but you can't catch me. All right. So, having had the federal recognition, we are also joined by Senator Jim Nielsen's representative, Landon. God, I feel like Gibbs is slapping me in the back of the head, you know. Landon, come on up here.
How are you, sir? Congratulations. Magic. It's said that your legacy is by the company you keep, and I'll say quite the company you got here. You know, congratulations, the friends, family, loved ones. Your legacy precedes you, and the city of Citrus Heights is forever indebted to you, and the constituents and citizens of District 4, Senate District 4, commend you, congratulate you. And if I may, I'm going to read just a quick blurb of this resolution we have presented for Henry here. It says, whereas the high standards to which Henry Tingle adheres have earned him the respect and friendship of those individuals with whom he has been associated, and he is regarded as much more than a colleague. He has been a source of inspiration and guidance, a calming force during periods of extraordinary time, pressure, and a solid foundation during periods of change. Most importantly, he has been a good friend to those whose presence will be profoundly missed. Now, therefore, be it resolved by Senator Jim Nielsen that Henry Tingle be commended for his long and distinguished record of professional service and leadership as city manager for the city of Citrus Heights, and extend best wishes for a rewarding and gratifying retirement. Signed, this day, the 30th day of September 2016, the Honorable Senator Jim Nielsen. Henry, congratulations.
No, state's coming. That's right. State's running a surplus. Thank you, Vanna. Was that Vanna? Vanna? Was it? No, it's Debbie. Debbie, right? Okay. All right. Uh-oh. What happened to Jeannie's? Where's the mayor's glasses? Okay. Next up is a good friend of mine, hailing from Rancho Cordova. I know. I'm a Republican. He's a Democrat. He's still my friend. Please welcome to the podium, Assemblyman Ken Cooley.
Well, I have a couple of things I want to say, and I've shared this with some of you out there. Pretty nice shindig for giving the guy the heave-ho, don't you think? You know, I was sort of standing up here and I reflected upon what I wanted to say, and what popped into my head is what I often say at Eagle Scout Courts of Honor. Courts of honor, when we are honoring someone for their accomplishments. And we are certainly all here to honor Henry, but I think we are here to honor Henry because Henry has actually honored himself by the conduct of his work. When I'm at an Eagle Scout Court of Honor, I often point out that a Boy Scout, when they start out in scouting, they say, on my honor, I will do my best. That's how the Boy Scout oath starts. And if you think about that, about scouting, if you pledge that on your honor you're going to do your best, everything else kind of unfolds from that. And I think we are here to honor Henry because truly on behalf of the citizens of Citrus Heights, he has done his best. And his best results in the abundance we see around us in this beautiful facility without any debt. The new city hall next door without any debt. And I know my work as a lawmaker, as an advocate on behalf of the city of Citrus Heights in affordable housing, in trying to get some money back from the state, has been greatly aided because I have always been able to go to the Capitol, to the governor and the finance director, and lay down the record of financial responsibility of this city. And it is unimpeachable, it is unassailable, and it has been sort of the wedge that I've been able to bang on the governor's office with to get them to kind of move in our direction, which would not happen but for Henry Tingle. And so with that, I will just close with this quote. Ralph Waldo Emerson said that an institution is the lengthened shadow of one person. Now we know that this is a deliberative democracy here in the city of Citrus Heights. There's been a long history of outstanding representatives. They do the deliberative work, and you've always had great council members who could haggle out what made sense to the city, and then they turn and pass that on to Henry and say, Henry, will you carry the ball on this play that we've just mapped out? And Henry has done that. And my city, when we formed, we knew from day one that we wanted to copy Citrus Heights from a financial standpoint. So I would say the abundance of his honor, his commitment to who he is, doing his work well, is visible not just in this city, but in little old Rancho Cordova and kind of the trail we've gone down as well. So I have a resolution for Henry also. And I've already done my talking, so I won't read anything, but Henry, it is just a great honor to present this to you. And thank you for your service.
Thank you, Ken. For those of you who don't realize it, Ken Cooley was a founding city council member in Rancho Cordova. So, Mary, you got to quit putting these glasses in my pocket. All right, so we have a number of others. You guys, thank you. Joe, are they supposed to stay here, or they work? Quick photo of the group. Okay, so you guys got to stay there. I love ordering around state representatives. It's so much fun. But I thought maybe we'd do a little between the ferns here, between me and Henry. You know, like I could ask him how we're going to be able to get a hold of you, and he can tell me use email. You think? I don't think anybody saw that show, huh? Just you and me, huh? Yeah. All right, I'll go on. All right, so I need to have up here joining us Supervisor McGlashan, former Chief of Police Christopher Boyd, current City Attorney Ruth Ann Ziegler, and the City Council members from the City of Citrus Heights. And I just want to forewarn you, do not pull a Bob Dole here. This is a small stage. Okay, so first, in 1993, the advocates for cityhood were able to finally persuade the Board of Supervisors to let us have a vote. 93, 96, what? 96? That's when the vote was. But just let me tell my story. You know, sometimes attorneys are helpful. So in 1993, we finally get the Board of Supervisors to say, we'll let you have a vote. So then we do 2 or 3 years of environmental documentation work, which is just like blah, blah, blah kind of stuff. The person who was in charge of doing that served this city very, very well for 8 years, now serves the county as a whole for the past 12 on the Board of Supervisors. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Supervisor Roberta McGlashan.
Thank you, Doug. It's really a privilege to be here, not only as your county supervisor, but as an original member of the Citrus Heights City Council, and to be able to present to Henry Tingle this resolution from the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors, which I will not read, but to which I took the kind of stock verbiage that was provided by the city, but I added a paragraph recognizing Henry's building of relationships with the county, with the cities in the county, and the ongoing from day one relationship with the Citrus Heights Water District and the Sunrise Recreation and Park District, which have been exemplary and continue to this day. And Henry and I both remember I think it was in the evening that I made a phone call to him, again, following a closed session with the other members of the city council, and offering him this position as city manager for the first permanent city manager for the city of Citrus Heights. And now 17 years later, that has to be a record tenure for a city manager in the state of California, if not the nation. So, and he's leaving because he wants to, not because he has to. Or maybe he has to, but not because of the city council. So Henry, it's my great pleasure to present you.
My good friend Supervisor McGlashan has pointed out to me my most recent faux pas. Thank you, Roberta. And that is, we are also joined by another city manager from the region, from the city of Rancho Cordova. Please welcome the city manager, Cyrus Appler. Where are you, Cyrus? Where are you? Oh, there he is, back there. Thank you, Cyrus. So some years ago, Henry and I were talking, and I was going, Henry, you're getting old. He looks over at me and says, you're older than I am. What are you going to do, Henry, when, Teresa comes along and says, Henry, bucket list time. And he goes, I've been working on that. I got this guy. And I go, well, tell me about him. I can't tell you. Oh, come on, Henry, tell me about him. And so he goes, okay, but first, can you keep a secret? And I go, sure, I'm a politician. So he goes, no, serious, man, serious. Can you keep a secret? I go, yeah. And he goes, so can I. Well, that young man served this city for a number of years as chief of police. I came to know him and his child bride Marcy and their boys. I tell you what, you really did marry above yourself, but and his sons. He has served this. You guys like that, huh? Okay. He has served this city dutifully, leading the Citrus Heights Police Department for a number of years. He's well regarded by his troops. He's well regarded in this region. The city council has approved his appointment to succeed Henry Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the next city manager of the city of Citrus Heights, Mr. Christopher Boyd.
Thank you. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. What an honor to be here. I'm glad that Henry's sitting out of my view here as I'm going to get through this, and I can't look at him here for a second. But yeah, it's been fantastic. And today's my last day as the police chief. I'll no longer be the police chief after midnight tonight. So my wife reminded me I can only legally really drive and talk on my cell phone till then, and then tomorrow it's all over. So honored to be here tonight to celebrate Henry and the years of service and leadership he has provided this great city. Speaking on behalf of the executive team here in the city, the directors of all of the city departments, Rhonda Rivera, Rhonda Sherman, Stephanie Daniel, David Wheaton, myself. We're very lucky team to have Henry as our leader and support and mentor. For 18 years, Henry has always been a responsible steward of the public's dollars and its needs. With his leadership, our fledgling city became one of awe and respect. Henry envisioned and crafted a solid foundation and infrastructure upon which to build the city's identity, culture, police department to improve public safety, and a community center and new city hall as fine as any in California. And Henry's attention to detail in the budget is one of his greatest strengths. I wanted to just take a minute to let you all know what it's like to be one of his directors, and we all of us directors up here know this, working for Henry when it comes to the budget, because everything we do revolves around the budget. And so when you go in to meet with Henry, whether you go in for a request or you need him to support you on something or he calls you in, usually involves the budget. And if you find yourself trying to make your case, you know it's not going well when he pulls it out. And his budget binders sit to his left. That's where they always are. And they're pages, and on each page there's 50 line items of numbers. And it's always amazed me how he can turn the conversation to an exact budget item, and it's quick. It's like a police officer on the firing range drawing his weapon. He just grabs it and pulls it, and it's open right to the page, and that's when the case starts being made. And then, if that's not impressive enough, he turns it upside down so you can read it, and he can read that thing upside down. It's amazing. It's amazing. And a little freaky. But it's that attention to detail that makes Henry a step above the rest. He has always been in tune with the needs of our community, his staff, and thoughtful decision making. He leaves tremendous shoes to fill, and I think Henry knows I'll do all in my power to honor his work and carry on his tradition of responsibility and vision and culture that he created. So in thinking about Henry's style and what it's like to work for him, I'm going to quote Theodore Roosevelt. The best executive is the one who has sense enough to pick good people to do what he wants done, and self-restraint enough to keep from meddling with them while they do it. And that's Henry Tingle. So, Henry, you'll be greatly missed, and I hope you thoroughly enjoy your much-deserved retirement. And we have one thing for you, and we have the executives and I, and one thing for your wonderful wife, Teresa. So first, for you, for Teresa. All right, Teresa, would you mind stepping forward? Teresa, thank you so much for your support. You've just been wonderful. And then, and for Henry, when we've all talked so much recently about our beautiful new city hall, and it's just a crown jewel of the city. And on the day that we moved in, all of the staff, the police honor guard, raised our first flag, and at the end of business that day, lowered that flag. And we have that flag right now for Henry. We'd like to present him. You don't have to hold it. Get a picture. All right, Henry, God bless you, and thank you for being the great leader that you've been. Thank you, sir. Good luck. Well, here.
I'm going to miss you so much, man. So when a city forms, one of the first things, imagine this, one of the first things they do is they go out and hire an attorney. And in this region, after the battle we had, there weren't a lot of attorneys who'd take us as a client, but there was one. There was one. And for now almost 20 years, she has been at the council meetings, in the executive sessions, helping the city move forward as a valued advisor as to what the city can or can't do and how to go about doing that. She has provided tremendous advice, sometimes even contradicting mine. It's that good. And she's an attorney. I said that. She is, she's a warrior. There's just no other way to put it. She's been a warrior for Citrus Heights. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ruth Ann Ziegler.
Thanks for the nice words there, Doug. Everyone talks first and gives the plaque second. I'm going to do that opposite. So it's not a resolution, not a proclamation. And what it says, though, is Henry Tingle, City Manager, 1998-2016. But it also says a truly great leader is hard to find and impossible to forget. So Henry, there are so many things we've gone through and so many stories I could tell, but it's all covered by attorney-client privilege, so I'm not going to say a single one of them. I want to thank Teresa, your boys, your family, for sharing Henry with us for all these years. But gang, bad news, we're not returning him 100%. We still hope to keep contact with him always. I had to consider what I could add to this evening's presentation. I've heard lots of words, leader, words that you commonly hear about Henry. Leader, visionary, forward thinker, gentle giant, compassionate, and anyone who describes Henry will sooner or later throw in the word frugal. But what word could I use that hadn't been used before? And I had it. The word is mensch. Okay, I said the word is mensch. It's not bench, it's not wrench, it's not mint, it's mensch. So what's a mensch? It's a Yiddish word describing a person. Being a mensch is not necessarily determined by wealth or social status, nor by success or family or lack thereof. A mensch is someone who does the right thing because it's the right thing to do. A mensch acts in that special way to all, family or strangers, public setting or at home. A mensch is a person a mensch is a person of integrity and honor. A mensch acts with consideration for all and respect towards all. Henry, you are a mensch.
Thank you, Ruth Ann. So, this is like Mensch Central. I guess this is great. So we're now gonna have remarks from some of the past and present council members. First up is somebody I've known for 30, at least. Yeah, okay, at least 30 years. And while these folks are lined up, Jana, we'd like you to come up also. You are a past member of this council. So, anyway, the first of our speakers, somebody I've known for 30 years, seen his kids grow up. I've seen his kids grow up. Seen his kids grow up. And he's done a good job. He and Murray have done great. Ladies and gentlemen, somebody who was on the original city council of Citrus Heights, my friend, James Shelby.
You know, what an evening. Henry is probably the crowning hire that we did in this city. And Henry represents what I think about. I'm a diversity guy. And so when I look at Henry, when Henry came to the council, he was brought on up from Richmond. And I did my little background on him. I made some phone calls and found out he wasn't a bad guy. And so basically, when Henry came to the city, he became the general services director. So when we opened up the city managers, Henry was the only internal candidate that applied. And so basically, he had all of the requirements. He had the life experiences he had gained over the years to be a city manager. But he never had that sitting in that seat experience. So we took a chance on Henry, and we appointed him city manager. 18 years later, diversity is if you give people an opportunity to excel, they will excel. And that's simply put. I love this man, and Henry came to the city. He said, James, he gave us a budget. He said, if you guys stick to this budget, you'll stay out of trouble and you won't be broke. I know it was hard sometimes to keep people in line because, you know, you got a little money, people want to spend it. But Henry presented the model that the council members followed, and basically today, everything that's been done in this city has been debt-free. And not too many city managers can retire and say that. Most of them, they leave debt behind. But Henry has left this city in a great place, a great opportunity. So Henry, my friend, our city leader, and the people in this room is exemplary of what you stand for. I think you were more popular with the citizens than we were. And so Henry, thank you for a job well done, and thank you for having the privilege to work with you. God bless.
So our next speaker is someone who has lived in this community a long time. I've lived in this community a long time. I can't remember when she didn't live in this community. So it's been a long time. She's been very involved in her community for many, many years. She served on the City Council of Citrus Heights. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Jana Karpinski-Costa.
they didn't tell me I was going to be here. You know, when I got here, I said, what is all this Kleenex on the tables for? But you all have a box of Kleenex if you need it, and I've been using mine. I served on the city council for 8 years, and during those 8 years, everybody thought I needed to have a good relationship with Henry, so he and I had lunch every month for just about all those 8 years. And together, once a month, was my time with Henry. I learned about Henry. I don't think there's no offense to you, Chris Boyd, I don't think anyone can fill Henry's shoes. Henry is just an incredible man who has related to our community. People could just go to his office and talk to him. Henry cared about every single thing in this city, and that's why I loved him. I still love him. I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna use that Kleenex that's on my table. Listen, I know you all here because you all love Henry Tingle, and I'm just happy to be able to have known Henry. I will hold all the future city managers to that standard. He's done incredible work in the city. There is no better man than this man. I will love Henry till the day we both die, and thanks, Henry.
Thank you, Jana. Our next speaker currently serves on the City Council. The next speakers are all current members of the City Council of Citrus Heights. First is someone who was first on the council beginning in 2003 and has run each time successfully and keeps winning with bigger and bigger margins. He's also my friend. He should be your friend. He's our next speaker. Please welcome Councilman Jeff Slowey.
Well, this is a great night for Henry, but I have to say, when I was standing over here, seeing all the tears, hearing about we're going to miss him, people dying, I'm like, hey, this is a party. Come on, let's pick it up a little bit. We're going to miss the man, but he's going on to the next chapter of his life, and I'm quite happy for him. Henry and I share a special bond, things that he and I went through. I'm not going to go into them with you because I don't wish them on you folks, but he and I have had some good conversations. I truly believe that Henry is the consummate professional. He's a great city manager. And while I personally will miss the job that he's done, you know, as a banker, I have to say, the first thing I heard about Henry when he came, and this is a nickname that's going to follow him, I apologize, Henry, but Tightwad Tingle. You know, at first I'm like, well, that's not very good. But then I thought, as a banker, I'm like, you know, I can get to like that man. And he's always on time, one of my favorites. So tight with money, on time. How can you not like somebody like that? But Henry, your legacy is all around you. You know, the debt-free city, everything you've built. And I've truly looked at it as a partnership between the city council and you. So as Teresa, you take him back from his 2-hour daily commute and, you know, move on with the other bucket list things in your life. I'm happy for him. While I'll miss him, you know, I know Chris is going to come in and do a similar job, different, but similar. But I'm truly happy for you, Henry, that you're going to get to spend time with your family doing what you get to do. So.
Thank you, Jeff. Our next speaker is someone who's in her first term on council, right? Probably one of the hardest workers I've ever known to run for office. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sue Frost. Sue Frost.
So it's hard to do justice to Henry There's so many things I could say, but I wanted to share a couple of the moments that stood out during my time over the past 4 years with Henry. I remember when I was first elected to the city council, and in my first meetings, I was going through that agenda and I was reading every single page, and Henry said, if you have any questions, the council members did too, but he said, if you have any questions, call me. And I called him and I had them all underlined and we were going through all of it, and he's like, Sue, these are the important questions, these are the questions you need to ask. And Henry taught me the importance of questions and the important questions to ask. And along the way, he was a wonderful mentor to me, and I thank you for that, Henry. He also was there during my year as vice mayor. You know, there were people from the community who were calling me and saying, Sue, we think if you're going to be mayor next year, we think you should help us. You know, the city's not doing this, or we need more support. And so during that time, I was trying to think of all the things I could do to be a great mayor. And Henry was like the wind under my wings. He had ideas. He said, you should call on Mayor Johnson and you should do this. And he helped inspire me to things that I didn't even know I wouldn't have maybe thought of. And it was because of Henry that some of my projects during my year as mayor came to fruition, because I actually asked people to help me, and they did. And he somehow knew that. He knew that the region would be there behind me and that they would support me. He always knew priorities. You know, he had his priorities straight. When it came to this community center, you know, we all know he paid cash, but it goes beyond paying for cash for something up front. It's how do you sustain that business model and keep the cash flow coming in so that you have the reserves to pay for the new carpet when you need it. And Henry had those things in mind. So he had his priorities straight, and he was always thinking about our city and what is best for our city. He also understood the importance of stability. Henry is leaving a big hole, but not really, because he has built a team. He built a police force that is not only reduced crime every year, but they are embedded in our communities and part of our community, and we trust them. That's not something every city can say. And that's not all. He built a staff that when he leaves, they can carry on because they know what to do. They've been doing it. Because he was leading from behind, like Mel said. I think Mel said that the other day, and Mel was right. He's the wind under other people. He's an inspirational leader. Henry, you were reaffirmed that probably the most important thing in the last 4 years, and I've run into, being new in politics, you know, you can run into some brick walls every now and then. Well, I did. And Henry taught me that sometimes the people are more important than the project. And great leaders know that. And that's why people love you. That's why when we were kicking around for the last year, you know, everyone was trying to think of how can we honor such a man? All these ideas about what can we do, and at the end of the day, he did get a plaque on City Hall, but you know, it wasn't a room named after him or a hall named after him or a street named after him. It was a day. We named a day after him. We dedicated a day to Henry Tingle. And I think the reason we did that is because we think if we name a day after him, he might come back. And we really want that. So Henry, we love you. I love you, and I'm going to miss you. And I really appreciate everything you've taught me. And I hope if I ever need you every now and then, I can call you again. And I hope you have a wonderful retirement.
Thank you, Sue. Okay, Henry, I am watching the clock. I got it. Come on. It's right there. 7:15. Right? You got the rest of your life, buddy. What are you talking about? So our next speaker is somebody I've come to know in a roundabout way. First, because somebody who worked for me in Washington was actually the best friend of his daughter. I have since come to know him and his wife and his family very well. This is somebody who says, don't tell me I can't do something. Help me find a way to get it done. That's pretty good words out of a politician. That's pretty good words to live by. That's pretty good words just for everyday activity. And those pretty good words were spoken by Councilman Mel Turner.
Thank you, Doug. I really appreciate that. One of the things I hope that you family members, I'm going to talk to you guys because this is Henry's day, but it's also your day. And Teresa, you have done one heck of a job in making and helping this man achieve what his goals have set out to be. You really have. Thank you. Thank you for sharing him with us as well. I don't know how many of you know this, but Henry and I literally are born one day apart. Many years in between, but one day apart. Many years. But one day apart. And there's two things I want to point to your attention. One was mentioned already about the plaque. Sue mentioned about the plaque, which will be hung up at City Hall. He wanted it to be here tonight so his family could see how we feel about him. Not what but how we feel about him by putting his face, not just his name on that plaque, but his face on that plaque. And there's a reason for that. This man has done something in this particular community that I'm not so sure anybody else could have done coming from where he came from, in terms of his background and the kinds of things that Henry had to go through to get here. He has had many obstacles, many roadblocks in his way, and yet he has achieved and overcome a whole lot of things that his sons, his nieces and nephews, his brothers, sisters, sisters-in-law, brothers-in-law, aunts and uncles, and if his parents were still here, would be very proud of because of what Henry has done, what he's accomplished. We are also very proud of him. That one of the reasons why we're all wearing hats, by the way, not because I forgot to comb my hair, but Henry mentioned to me that what would be really cool, Mel, if people would wear hats to my retirement party as a way to express their support for him. Henry started wearing hats. I think it's because he's ready to get out there and start doing some fishing. He didn't have a way to cover his boat, so he thought he'd wear a hat. And the rest of us kind of picked up on that theme and decided to support him. So a lot of us are wearing hats tonight specifically just to support Henry and his objective, which is to do a lot of fishing. And I think he's going to do a lot of catching, not just fishing, by the way. We were asked to tell a story and experience about Henry, and one of the things that I remember, and he has told this story, he told it tonight as a matter of fact to the family members, when I first decided to look at running for city council, because James Shelby had been trying to get me to get involved in the city, and I was, like most of you, busy, got a job, I'm going to school, trying to get my master's degree. I mean, all these things are going on, and I had a wife who didn't necessarily want me to do this particular line of work, or get in this line of work. But when I went to talk to Henry, I said to Henry, I think I know why I want to be on this council, and I think it's because I want to help you do what you're doing. I love what you're doing for our city. I've been in this community for 36 years now, my wife and I, Connie, and I love what you've done in this community. I want to continue to see that go forward. I want to help you achieve your goals because your goals have become our goals. And I just want to tell you how much we really appreciate and love this man for what he represents, what he does, his discipline, his demeanor. There are many names, as you've heard, that people call him by, but one of the things that we not only call him by, but what we display and show to Henry is our love and affection for Henry because of who he is and what he has accomplished in his life and what he's helped a lot of other people accomplish as well. So with that, I just want to let you know how important it is for me to have known you, to continue to know you, and the fact that if it hadn't been for you, I wouldn't be on the city council, and it hadn't been for James Shelby bugging me all the time, I wouldn't be here, but you were the man because of what you've achieved in this particular community that I wanted to continue to have that happen. And I want to thank you for that from the bottom of my heart. I think Connie would agree with us that this is probably one of the best moves we've made in our city is to help Henry Tingle achieve our goals for a city and a community. Thank you so much, Henry.
So thank you, Mel. Every organization thrives because the players inside that organization play different roles, and to the degree that success flows to that organization is a function of how well those people play their roles. And right now, we need somebody to play the role of turning the air conditioner up. You know what I'm saying? Our next speaker is someone who came to the city council by appointment, filling out an unexpired term, somebody who'd left. He is now in his second term, I believe. Third term. My, how time flies. So he's in his third term. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Council Member Steve Miller.
Well, Sue mentioned about Henry Tingle Day. That's today. And next year we plan on giving the employees off, but it'll be a Saturday, so I think that's... Mayor Bruins had asked us to kind of relate a personal story. Now, I don't have a funny one like Jack Duncan would, but at least mine's going to be true. And it shows how you've grown leaders in the community, and so this may be about me, but it's about everybody. So one of the memories that stands out for me is a rainy day in October 2004. I was running for city council and attending the dedication ceremonies for Sylvan Corners. And Henry came to me and said, "Steve, if you don't get elected, I've got a job for you." Well, I didn't get elected that year. I did eventually, as you've heard. And the job he had for me was serving on the Law Enforcement Citizens Advisory Committee. And during each of the committee meetings, you could tell members were having a hard time deciding. The sheriff would come and talk to us, and the sentiment was, let's keep the contract. And then city staff would come to us and make their case, and we'd go, well, let's form our own police department. We went back and forth, and we asked Henry to come back one additional time than he had planned for another presentation. And from what I heard, he was a little incensed that we couldn't see the obvious, we couldn't make up our minds. But he did agree to return, and he nailed it. His presentation was clear, concise, and well laid out, much like every other proposal and project we've had. He showed it could be done, how we could maintain proper staffing levels and save $2 million a year. The committee then voted unanimously to form our own police department, and you know the rest of the history. So thanks in large part to you, Henry. We are all better prepared to face the challenges of the future here. You leave the city far stronger, smarter, and richer than what it was when we started. And Nan and I wish you the very best in retirement.
A little ancient history for everybody. In addition to Bill Van Duker in the back, there were a couple other people involved in the campaign to create a city. That person, one of the instrumental people there were three. One of the instrumental people in that three-headed monster actually was very involved in the economy here. She was the president of the Chamber of Commerce. She had her finger in just like everything going on. It was just like watching a master at work when she'd go at something. Eventually we wore her down and we got her, obviously we won the incorporation ballot. Eventually we wore her down and persuaded her to run for city council. And what we saw then, the voters have seen every election since. She's in her fourth term of the city council, and she's currently serving as mayor. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jeannie Bruins.
Aren't you glad I'm the last speaker? all the predecessors or the people that have spoken before me have really expressed how we feel about Henry Tingle and all that he's achieved. So I am just going to add that I think it's really important to acknowledge everything that he has done, but I think it's far more important to acknowledge the man that he is. Because he is a man of character, he is a man of caring, he is a man of vision, who saw things none of us could see. None of us saw a community center on an old field next to the post office. None of us saw a city hall that we have today that has been, we said this was the crowning jewel of Citrus Heights. Now we have a new crowning jewel. None of us saw the talent in some of the people that he promoted and encouraged through giving them tough assignments. But he sees things that we don't see. And he is a man of internal stature that exceeds his external stature. He's a man whose life has touched all of us, and without whom in my life I wouldn't have had the opportunities to do many of the things that I've done. And one of my favorite moments with Henry is in a really unlikely place. We all have regional assignments, and mine happens to be the sewer board. Because I go for glam, I go for glam. And so I've been sitting on the sanitation board for the 14 years I've been on the council. And many years ago, 4, 5, 6 years ago, they were doing tours of our wastewater treatment plant, which is way down in Elk Grove. And so Henry, I don't know if you know this, but he started his public municipal life at East Bay Mud in the sanitation district. So he jumped at the chance of touring a sewer plant. And so here we were with a bunch of people, and first of all, the sanitation district has very high standards, so it doesn't smell like a sewer. So we're it felt like we were in the bowels of the earth. We're under this great big building where all these pumps and pipes and things, I don't even know what they were, but they're a very large scale. We're like on a catwalk. And Henry puts his hand on my shoulder. He goes, "Jeannie, do you smell that?" So Henry has never forgotten his roots. Tonight there are a lot of people who have brought gifts for Henry. That's very fitting. And we the council gave him his resolution at his last council meeting with us last Thursday. And we have a gift from the city council that we would like to give you tonight. So I'm going to ask my fellow council members to come up. And we would like you to open this gift, this little gift from us. Come up here, Henry. We all know Henry is a fisherman, right? We all know Henry's wearing a hat tonight because he doesn't want to get a sunburn. So, you can look at the card later. So this is our gift to Henry. And turn it over. Not a new boat. He's getting his Bimini cover. Okay. We love you, Henry. Catch a big fish for me, will you? All right. Thank you. Thank you, Jenny.
So I need to, just a point of procedure. Are we going to do pictures with Henry? Well, you better get back up here, Madam Mayor. Well, I'm not ready to toast him. He's not retired yet. Besides, I want to show everybody my glasses again. Yeah? I just need to clear. Were you going to do pictures? Joe, where are you? You going to do them later? Okay. All right. Okay, so does everybody have... Well, before we do that, Henry, while you're seated there, resting, I want you to introduce your family.
Okay. Hello? Well, that was on my agenda here.
Oh, then we'll come back.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll come back. All right. So everybody got their champagne? What do you call them? Flutes, flasks, whatever you call them. Thank you. All right. Okay, fill your flutes or flasks or whatever these things are called. We're ready? Okay. All right. Just doing a little organizational stuff up here, folks. So I'm a little bit reluctant following comments by the mayor about sewer plants to come up here. But I do want to ask you to join me in a salute with a toast to my friend Henry Tingle. That's it, not yet. What should I say, Henry? I'll tell you what, I got it. Ladies and gentlemen, to good friends, great vision, and awesome leadership, Henry Tingle. Some more? He doesn't have to go to work tomorrow. Give him some more. You got a limo. All right. So round two. To those who stay at home and back up family members, so that they have the freedom and the comfort of going to work every day and doing their best. To families who pay a price. To the Tingle family, salud. And finally, before Henry gets to speak, on behalf of 84,000 people who live here, the city of Citrus Heights toasts, long live Henry Tingle. Yeah, you do, Henry. You're next, man. We're running a little bit late, but we're going to carve time for you. So some years ago, I had the pleasure of knowing the original city council. I was cognizant of what they were doing as they moved from the interim first city manager to selection of the man who has served the longest term ever as city manager of Citrus Heights. Think about that. Come on, it's okay. Henry, I don't know how you're going to encapsulate your leadership and record of success. I don't know how, Mike is yours. Ladies and gentlemen, sit. My friend Henry Tingle.
Okay, you guys can you hear me? Okay, you guys can sit down. It's amazing how many people will come out for a free meal. You know, close your mouth, Teresa. You know, it's I want to thank each and every one of you guys for coming out to help me to celebrate my retirement party. You know, I told the staff almost a year ago that I was going to retire. And my plan was to retire after we got the new city hall built, and that would be the end of my legacy. And the Tingle era in Citrus Heights will have ended. And after tonight, the Tingle era will have ended. What I'd like to do is introduce some of my family members. It's a bunch of them here, but I'm not going to introduce all of them because there's too many of them here. So I'm going to focus on my two sons that were 6 weeks old when I started working here. My oldest son, Marvin, he couldn't be here tonight because he's somewhere between Oakland and Hawaii in the Pacific Ocean, living his dream. And I'm so proud of him and his mom. She wants to buy him a satellite phone so she can stay in touch with him when he's out in the ocean. Whenever he gets to the different ports, he always texts his mom and calls to let us know that he's okay. So I just wanted to make mention of my oldest son because we miss him, we love him, and we're so proud of him. So I also want to introduce to you my very lovely wife, Teresa. Stand up, Teresa. And boy, she looking good tonight. You know, I'm trying to put a little humor in this. A few weeks ago, we had the ribbon cutting ceremony of the new city hall, and that's when the council really surprised me with that plaque over there. I did not see it coming. Not one single one of my staff disclosed anything. Robert mentioned that they were going to maybe name the city hall after me, and I said, no, you can't do that, you know. But anyway, and I made a comment to the council at that meeting. I said, you know, it's going to be really nice only having one boss as opposed to 5, referring to Teresa. But before we could even get to Highway 80, she reminded me there were 6 bosses to 1. And so, you know, I'm just putting my hands up. Whatever she wants, she got it, you know. She's been in my corner for all these years. She has supported me when I left and went to work for the city and county of San Francisco. She supported my endeavor there, which was a total nightmare. And then when I told her I wanted to come to Citrus Heights, she supported me here. So if it wasn't for my wife, I wouldn't be here. And I want to really thank you, Teresa. You know, I had a lot of really good role models in my life growing up as a youth. And I had a lot of great family members. You know, many of them have passed away. My mom, my dad, you know, my oldest sister, Mary, and, you know, and I have a brother that passed away a few years ago. But I do have my family here, and I'm so happy they're here. You know, I have my oldest brother is here tonight. Amos, raise your hand. That is one brother I'm really proud of. I really looked up to him when I was a kid, He really worked hard in his career, and I used to brag about my brother and the things he accomplished as he went up, and he was truly a role model just by the things he did. And then I have my other brother, who we shared a bedroom with all our lives until we grew up and moved out, and that's my brother Norman over here. Those of you that know me know I love the barbecue, but he's the only family member that can outdo me on the barbecue pit. I will give him credit for it. My brother, he really inherited my father's genes when it comes to barbecue, and so I have, where's my, oh, and there's my sister Tamara. And then I have, with the rest of my family, just stand up, please, so you can be recognized. Come on, please stand up. Stand up. Thank you, guys. And I know I didn't miss something, and I'll hear about it on the way home. You know, we touched a little bit, some of the speakers, about the Citrus Heights Incorporation Committee. And I want to say a little something more about them. You know, over 18 years ago, when I was working in the Bay Area, I had heard about Citrus Heights was moving toward incorporation. And so I did a little homework, and I went on a website, and I found Citrus Heights. And I read about the history of the Incorporation Committee. And I was never so amazed at how a handful of people could stay together for over a decade, fighting the county on every basis just for the right to go onto the ballot to see if this would become a city. I mean, they fought through all the courts in the land, and as Congressman Doug Osee said, all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court in Washington, D.C. When I read that, I didn't know those people or meet those people, but I was so impressed by what I read. I said, I want to be a part of this new community. And so I applied for the General Services Director job, and I was able to get it. And then after 1 year, I became the city manager. And I would really like members of the Incorporation Committee to please stand and be recognized. It's really amazing how just a handful of people could stay together and fight so hard for so many. And I'm telling you, I'm just so proud, and it really made me want to really work hard to be the best I could for this community. I also want to thank the City Council. We had some really good times together, you know. I could remember our trips back to Washington, D.C., and Congressman Osee, I tell you, he was the best. He was what I consider old school, and all of my family know what old school, what it means, what I'm talking about. Doug, that's a good thing, okay? That's a good thing. Yeah, when we used to go back to Washington, D.C., and, you know, Doug, he brought home the bacon. Those were the days when we can get a little money out of Washington, D.C. One thing I never learned from Doug is how to accumulate debt. We know about the federal debt, right? Yeah. But you know, every time we went back to Washington, D.C., Doug would make it really special for us. After we got through with the business, he would take us on tours of the Capitol. And, you know, he took me down onto the floor of the Congress where they have the State of the Union speeches and all that. And I just could really feel the energy. And one time we went back there and we had lunch in the Congressman dining hall. And all these congressmen were just walking by me, and some that have been there so long it looked like they had a foot in the grave, I tell you. You know, it's pretty amazing. And I could barely eat my lunch because I was so amazed by just sitting there. And I was so amazed that all the servers there were Afro-Americans. So I thought I went back in time when I went in there, you know? No, I say that in a positive way because you know, they didn't spend a lot of money back there with the surroundings, and when you go in there, the places didn't really look that great, you know, the tables and all that. So you can tell their budget was tight way back then. But I tell you, the quality of service that was provided to us was pretty phenomenal. I got a chance to go to the west wing of the White House and walk past the Oval Office. You know, I tried to crack my head in there, but I see if Clinton was in there. That was the last year that Clinton was in office, but he was out busy doing something else. But, you know, at one time I went back there with Councilman Shelby, and I tell you, you know, I'm learning a lot from James, because one time we went back there and he had a brown paper bag with him, and in it he had candy. His wife, Murdy, gave him some candy because she wanted their son was going to school in Baltimore. So we rented an SUV and drove from Washington, D.C. all the way to Baltimore, Maryland, so that James can deliver that candy to his son. And but let me finish the story. James knew his son's class schedule. We went to his class, these two old guys, and all these young kids were in the class. We poked our head in the class, and Jamie, he's sitting right there, he wasn't in the class. And boy, James was mad. Boy, he was mad. And so when we left the classroom, and he bit on a piece of the candy, and then when we came out and started walking down the courtyard, here come Jamie, running fast as he can to get to class. And we caught up with him, and we gave him that candy. And I tell you, Murdy and Teresa are awful lot alike. You know, I know who's in charge now, and that's Teresa. You know, and I have a lot of stories about the council, but I can't share them all with you tonight, because if I did, we'd be here pretty late. But I want to share one more story with Jeannie and her grandkids. Jeannie just loves her two grandsons. And one day I was standing over by the Rose Garden, this big chocolate giant, and this little 3-4-year-old boy, he runs up to me and puts his arms around my legs, and I was just so tickled pink. And Jeannie looked at that and said, "Oh my God, I'll never forget that, Jeannie. That was so sweet." So I want to thank the City Council for putting this on, making this a real gift to me. I can't mention everybody here tonight because there are so many of you, and I love you guys all. Everybody in this room I consider part of my family. But there are some people by name I need to mention, because it's important to me, and it's important that they know how I feel about them. When I first became city manager, you know, like James said, I was never a city manager before, and I was lucky. I was lucky because I had a very strong executive team, and I've always had a very strong executive team. But the original executive team, when I became city manager, I view them as the ones that really formed the foundation from which we grew up as a city. And I want to recognize those people tonight because they are so special to me, and I'm so glad that 3 of the 4 of them were able to make it tonight. And I want them to get up and be recognized, because you guys did a really exceptional job in the early ages of our city. And I want to recognize Cappy Capriola. Kathy is the main reason why we were successful with our police department, the startup. She worked countless numbers of hours in those early days to make sure that our departments were successful. And I'll never forget the night that the council approved it on a 4-1 vote. I had a 21-0 vote on the Citizen Advisory Committee, but I couldn't get that 5th vote, but I got 4. And Kathy came to the back of the council chambers and said, "You know, great, we got 18 months to start this thing up." I said, "Who said anything about 18 months? We got to get this done in 12 months. And if you can imagine just how difficult a task that was to start the department up in 12 months and bring in police officers from over 70 different agencies throughout the state of California, that was pretty phenomenal. I had no choice because of the way that the sheriff's contract was written. If I didn't pull it off, it was going to cost me additional $8 million that I didn't have. So, great job. I also want to recognize Janet Rosario. Janet, please stand up. Janet was our planning director. And I just got to tell you, you know, in those early years after incorporation, we had a lot of development that had occurred in the city. And, you know, I'd never been a planner, so I didn't know a lot about planning. But I learned a lot about planning from Janet. I learned a lot about, you know, the quality of buildings, the appearance of building, the landscaping, the trees, you know, saving trees, giving up parking spaces for trees and everything like that. And how important that was, you know, but it was just really phenomenal, the job that Janet did with starting up our general plan and zoning ordinances and so forth. And this next person, she's not here tonight, but, you know, we talk a lot about my frugalness with the budget and so forth, but the 10-year budget model that we work off, I owe a lot of that to Susan Mahoney. She was our original finance director. And lastly, and not least, and it's the person that she's still with us here in Citrus Heights, and she's just been really a phenomenal person in terms of the job that she's done for the city. She's kept us our lawsuits down to a minimum. You know, I don't think we've done over $100,000 in settlements since she's been our city attorney, and that's Ruth Ann Ziegler. Stand up, Ruth Ann. You know, yeah, Ruth Ann was with us from day one, and she did she's doing a really exceptional job. The one thing I won't miss, though, you know, at the city council meetings, I have the city clerk, Amy Van, on one side of me, and Ruth Ann on the other side of me. And while the council meetings are going on, they're constantly passing papers across from me. You know, I mean, we can't even wait till the next morning to sign the contract, so they're signing them right after the council approves them. And then Ruth Ann constantly and Amy handed them to me back and forth, so I really felt like a messenger sitting there. But I really enjoyed, you know, and loved sitting next to the two of them, just the constant professionals. So I really wanted to recognize them. You know, right after I became manager, we had a lot of service contracts and consulting contracts, and I had to review all those contracts, and if I felt they were charging the city too much, or we weren't getting the quality service that we deserve, I fired a lot of them, and I brought a lot of those services in-house. And you know, you've heard the little stories about me and money. There's one consultant that has survived since incorporation. That's pretty amazing when you think about it, you know. But the price is good and the service is great. And this individual has really helped to steer the city in the right direction since our incorporation. And one of the things I learned very much from this individual, that if you, how do you say it? If you fail to plan, thank you, Doug, if you fail the strategic plan, you fail planning or whatever. But this person is Marilyn Snyder. Marilyn, would you stand up and be recognized? There she is. There she is. I love Marilyn to death. I got to tell you, back in the day when I was working for the city of Richmond, Marilyn was a facilitator in Richmond, and boy, you know that was a job for Marilyn. And then when I got to Citrus Heights and I found out that Marilyn was the facilitator up here, I knew we were home free. And Marilyn, thank you for keeping us guided every 6 months. Just when we're about ready to lose it, you come on up here and you get us back focused. And I want to thank you for all you've done for our city. You know, I have a lot of brothers in this place, and when I say brothers, they don't necessarily are considered blood brothers, but they're brothers to me, and they're very important to me. For a number of years, commuting up to Citrus Heights every day could be pretty stressful. And I had a couple of guys that I commuted with for quite some time. And these guys always seemed to know when I needed to lie in the back seat and take a nap because I was stressed out over something, or they knew that I was going to have a tough day of trying to convince 300 residents that we should build a new city hall. And that lot you see across the street there, it has soon become a new medical office in the city, and convince. And these guys always seemed to know when I was under a lot of stress, and the things that they would say to me and the breaks that they would give me, a lot of times they wouldn't even let me do my share of the driving because they could see the stress that I was under. And I've known these guys for over 30 years, and they're like blood brothers to me, and that's Ikram Chaudhry in the back here. Stand up, Ikram. And Dave Doherty. Where's Dave? Where's Dave? And Dave Doherty. I really wanted to recognize them because you guys, driving 75 miles each way, that's a lot of driving. And to do it for 18 years and have that support, it really made a difference. I only got 2 more things, and then I'm through. And then you guys can go home and take it easy. But there's something I did want to tell my wife in front of all you guys. She has put together a honey-do list that just will not quit. But I'm going to tell you, next week, there's only 2 things I'm going to do. I'm going to call the roofing contractor, and I got 23 episodes of Gunsmoke. And then when I'm through with those 23 episodes, then I'm going to watch The Magnificent Seven at the movies. And you can go or you can stay home, because she knows I love Westerns. She knows. So Marie, talk to your daughter. Anyway, the last 2 things I want to mention is the staff. You guys, these last few weeks have been pretty hard on me. Several of you had come to my office and you shared things with me that occurred almost, when I first became city manager, and talks that we had. Some of you I had to convince to stay when other cities were trying to recruit you. But it's kind of like, when I came to the city, it was only 1 year old and we were still very much in our infancy. This city has grown up now. You guys are grown, you're mature, you're extremely knowledgeable, professional group of employees, and you're by far the best that I've ever had a chance to manage. And we've gone through a lot of Kleenexes these last few days. And I tell you guys, the things that you've done, you gave me a staff luncheon and gave me a whole bunch of Bass Pro fishing gear and a card so I can go buy some more gear. The executive team took me out to lunch, and I haven't told my wife how much you guys gave me. But I know what I'm supposed to use it for, and I promise you I will use it for that. And that's to take my wife on a nice outing, and I'm definitely going to do that. But what I'm saying is, many of you have grown and developed into true professionals. But even beside that, the things that I really love the most about you guys are the personal things that you shared with me. When I became the manager, many of you weren't parents and became parents. And I tell you, those of you that became grandparents really mellowed out. I know, it's something about becoming a grandparent, And then, you guys knew that I was the boss, but you felt comfortable where you could call me Mr. T. Some of you called me HT, and all sorts of other things. And you felt, but they were all good things, though, And you would bring your kids over to my office so I could see how they were growing and developing. I've watched a number of your kids graduate from high school, along with these 2 right here. you know. And then my oldest son as well. I've seen some of your kids graduate from college. And, you know, it's like family. This is a family organization. And when we started up the police department, it was so important that we develop a model that would create a job-life balance for our police officers and police personnel, because the stress that they have to undergo every day, you know. And so when Chris and I met over 10 years ago, when I interviewed Chris for 5.5 hours straight to make sure that he would be the right police chief for us, I shared a lot of my vision and thought about job-life balance. And I know that he'll carry that legacy as he becomes city manager, and I'm proud of each and every one of you guys and the job that you guys have all done. I'm trying to keep this from turning emotional, because I don't want to see no more teary eyes, because I tell you, my eyes are hurting from all the crying I've done this week. And then, you know, what really get me, I saw those pictures up on the wall there. And, you know, Teresa had been going through these boxes and stuff, and I hadn't a clue as to what she was going through them for. Because she had, you know, all these picture boxes. And then I seen those pictures on the wall, then I seen what she was up to. Then on last Wednesday, which was my last day in the office, Monica said I had to go out through the front door. And it was my last day, and I wasn't really, it was a little odd to me that I didn't see anybody in their offices or workstations when she walked me through. And then when I came out the general services, and there my staff was waiting for me. I don't know if you have it on video, but if you do, I would sure love you guys to show everybody. That was the highlight, you know, walking through the gauntlet of my employees on both sides of me, high-fiving me, hugging me, kissing me, you know. And then the police department and what they said on the 911. Do you guys have that? Do you guys have that on video? Okay, you guys, okay, good. So anyway, they don't miss anything, you know. You know, look, this is the last time you guys are going to hear from me, so give me a little more time. You know, when the directors took me out to lunch, I came back to my office, and there was a photo album sitting on my desk. And it went all the way back to when we were in the basement of City Hall when the original city council hired me. And it just had from that day on till practically now, and I just broke down. Just looking at my boys and Teresa holding them when they were, and Marvin with his little self at that time. And it just brought back so many wonderful memories that I'm going to cherish for the rest of my life. And the last one, and then we'll get to, I know we're running late. The last folks that I want to thank are the citizens of Citrus Heights. You know, there are a number of families in Citrus Heights that really embraced me and, you know, really supported me. You know, I want to recognize the Cook family over here. And Jim. And the reason I want to recognize them is because those two Cook brothers over there, they have the best vegetable gardens you can guys shake a stick at. I mean, you know, Teresa would complain about all the vegetables I would bring home, but they had some of the juiciest tomatoes, you know, that you had to hold over the side because the juice would fall on you. You know, stuff you get out of Safeway now is so dry. But Kathy Cook, you know, when we started our marching, she started the marching band with her family. And we have the only marching band, community marching band in the country. And what's so fascinating about that band, they're as little as 4 years old and 86 years old. That's the range of the folks that are in that marching band. And it's just wonderful to see them perform. I remember one year we went to the state capitol and we performed after 9/11. The state actually asked them to come and perform, and they were always getting demands. And like I said, I can't name too many because the time is going on, but there are a number of other residents of this city that have invited me over their homes for lunches and dinners and all sorts of things. But the other thing I like about the Cook family is every time I went into Jim's house, he would have gun smoke on. And I know I'm supposed to get back to work, but it was hard whenever I see it on. You know, you guys have to understand who Marshall Dillon is and what he's all about, you know. So anyway, I do want to thank you guys all for coming out, and you guys have just really made my retirement the best it could be, and I just thank all of you for it from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much.
Well done.
Thank you, Bill.
Great words, Henry. Reflective of just who you are. So we've got a little video presentation for everyone, which I guess is going to take place right here. So I'm going to move the microphone, and who's in charge of the lights? Never mind. It's over here too. So roll it.
So beginning in the early 80s, a group of citizens, which I was not involved with at the outset, pushed for creating a city out here.
Typically you'd run into an obstacle like, the county says no, you just pack it in and say can't do it. But this particular group fought all the way to the Supreme Court.
And for any group of people that could hold together for a whole decade and really sacrifice, really said a lot about the residents of this community.
Citrus Heights was a forsaken community by the county of Sacramento. When we formed the city, the first night we had our first meeting, we discovered that we didn't even have insurance if someone sued the city.
We've seen this community grow up and actually struggle and then take control of its own affairs with incorporation and thrive.
Yeah, one of the really things that attracted me to Citrus Heights 18 years ago is the fact that it was a newly incorporated city. And coming to a new city for the first time was like an opportunity of a lifetime.
And so Henry was our general services director for maybe about a year. And Mike Oliver said, okay, I've done this for 2 years now. I'm really a retired person. I want to go back to being retired. The city council at that time, put out an RFP for looking for a new city manager.
He did apply. He was the only internal candidate that made an application. So after several debate and the council fears, we had a real long meeting, and I think Bill Hughes, myself, and Roberta said, let's move forward with Henry. And the fourth council member, Jeff Rainey, says, I can count to 3. And that's how Henry became the city manager.
When he came on, well, of course, we were just a new city, only a couple of years old. And so he had a lot of things that he had to do and accomplish.
When Henry got the job here, the whole entire discussion was about how to make the lives better of the people of Citrus Heights, how to make the community better.
He took the bull right by the horns and he hired some good people to work for the city.
The city wanted him to come on board in August 1998, but he asked if he could come in a month later, September, because his twin boys were 6 weeks old and he wanted to spend some family time with them before coming on board to the city.
When Henry did become city manager, some of the things that he did, he immediately jumped into action and started to cultivate relationships with all aspects of the community. He started out with the residents and with the businesses in Citrus Heights, the business owners.
It just seemed like things started progressing right after he took over. Different things were happening to the city. And
we have never incurred debt, and that is largely attributable to Henry's philosophy and the philosophy of our early city council members, who were in harmony on the fact that we had to be very careful because we knew we weren't getting our property tax revenue for 25 years and we had to manage without it.
And that meant that we couldn't have everything we wanted today.
We adopted an economic development strategy which outlines what we need to do to grow business in the community and grow the economy.
It's easy to get into debt. You have all these bond people trying to convince you that there's ways of paying for things.
And so we basically, there was some questions about, will this work? Maybe we weren't spending enough money in the city. Maybe we should have went in debt and borrowed some money. But Henry kept us focused. And if we just listened to his plan and his vision, that Citrus Heights would be a model city. And it took a lot of reservation from the council because sometimes we wanted to spend money and Henry was advising us not to.
Henry saw on the horizon the recession that cities in California and the United States went through. And he started to take steps early to plan for it.
During unpredictable times, Henry has positioned us in a way that we have a great foundation and stability, financial stability.
You know, we all went through 2008 and those, years after that, and it was a very hard time.
When those times were a little bit dire financially, he would call and he would have this anguish in his voice about what to do, how to do it. But the thing he was determined is to keep the employees as happy as he possibly could.
Henry came in and said, okay, look, we're all going to weather this storm together, but that's going to require all of us to do some sacrificing so that all of us can stay as whole as possible. So while other cities were, bleeding money, laying folks off, laying staff off, implementing furloughs, we didn't do any of that. Henry's philosophy was, we're all going to sacrifice and everybody's going to keep their job, but we all have to sacrifice in order to make this happen.
He's always put a focus on work-life balance and tried to keep things lighthearted and no nonsense. Families matter, people matter. That's not something that can be compromised.
Every time we've had a problem, instead of throwing our hands up in the air, they sat down and solved it. And leadership matters.
I implemented what was called the pay-as-you-go philosophy. And so once I established that conservative approach to managing the city's financial resources, then I had to establish the top priorities for the city.
Options that we had was to contract with the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department. But we discovered after 10 years, our contract kept going up $1 million a year. Henry said, James, we can do better. So we began to lobby the council, and we actually began a process of having our own police department. The community really was not in favor of it initially, but Henry and the council convinced the community this was our only option.
And we went back and forth. The sheriff would make a presentation, and we'd go, yeah, we should stay with the sheriff's contract. And then the city staff would come in and would go, no, we should go with the city. And I could just feel it back and forth.
Because the sheriff's department had been patrolling Citrus Heights since I've been here, 1980. And while there were a lot of folks who weren't satisfied with that, there were still people who were comfortable with the sheriff's department patrolling our community and not having our own police department.
Well, the sheriff did a good job of putting fear in the community that we would not be successful and we'll be back on our knees begging them to come back again.
I found out later that Henry was kind of following all this, and he got really ticked off that we couldn't see the logic in forming our own police department.
And Henry was able to convince the council, convince the community how wonderful it would be, and there were a lot of folks who thought for sure that he was going to fall on his face, the city was going to fall on his face, and in no time at all we'd be back in the county asking for them to come back and patrol our community. That didn't happen, as you all know.
Henry is also extremely skilled at picking personnel to accomplish his goals. One of the shining examples, of course, is his selection of Christopher Boyd to head the police department.
Well, what I remember most about first getting to know Henry was when I became a finalist for the police chief job back at the end of 2005. It got to the point for the city manager interview. But the thing about it, it lasted over 5 hours. And again, I've never experienced anything quite like that, but I got to learn all about what his vision was. This guy was determined to not only start his own police department, but have really the best police department in California.
Then it became a question of how fast could we do this? You don't set up a 911 center, get police cars, uniforms, much less talented personnel in a month or 3 months or 6. But Henry wanted to make it happen fast. And I think rather than an 18-month period, he got it down to a 12-month period.
They went around and they found the money to set the police force up, create their own police headquarters, and hire a chief and get the thing stood up. And that's worked also.
Crime reduction was extremely important, and because of Henry's vision, we've really been able to put in some award-winning and extraordinary cutting-edge crime reduction concepts that have really worked great.
And Henry was the leader that we needed at that time. He was the perfect leader, and he had the vision and he had his priorities straight.
And then there were 2 smaller community centers that we built in the city. One to serve some of our advantaged or disadvantaged residents out in the Sayonara neighborhood.
A community behind Greenback and Sunrise Boulevard. And it was riddled with crime, absentee landlords, and so the people that live there were kind of neglected.
And then we built another smaller center on Sylvan that also provides services to the community. So all these facilities that we built at that time, we built with cash. Our next area priority was a community of 88,000+ people. We had no place for people to assemble in Citrus Heights. So we had over 80,000 people and no community meeting place. So my next priority was to build a new community center for the residents.
So it took 10 years to find a place for our community center, but it also took 10 years to save the money to build it for cash.
And everybody at that time was talking about, we need a place to grab, let's build the community center.
He found a great location, as we all know, and he was able to deliver that, again, under budget and on time.
And ultimately, as I close out my career with the city in the next few weeks, one of my biggest goals was to try to get a new city hall built for our employees.
This new city hall, it's amazing. I mean, I still, like today, driving in going, wow, I can't believe this really happened. Even though I was a big part of it, I can't believe that I get to drive up every day to this big, beautiful building and provide service to the people in this community and be proud of it.
We hired our first city manager and we were off and running. And so from that point of having no employees, we went from there to what it is today. And now we're sitting in a paid-for new city hall. That was one of the original vision of the original council.
Besides just residents, it is a huge change in the entire environment. Not just crime, but just the overall appearance of the city.
All over the region, people look to Citrus Heights because we have been very successful.
Administration is head and shoulders above any other jurisdiction in this area.
It's hard to describe Henry Tingle because he's a man of few words, but yet he's a man of many, many, many words.
Just to see this tall man come in was a little intimidating, but then you smiled and it kind of lit up the whole front office there.
Just really a gentle giant.
And as I got to know him a little bit better, why he's big, but he's a teddy bear.
The man, the gentle giant, Henry Tingle, is leaving us, and it won't be the same without Henry.
He was not then, nor ever was, a yes person or a rubber stamp. He worked on his ideas and concept as to what was best for the city,
I learned very quickly that it's not about politics, it's not about anything but doing what's right for the community, what's right for the city, etc., and that's what he's done.
That is kind of what he has taught me, that everybody matters in this community.
When he was hiring me, that the vision was to serve our community with the highest levels of customer service, that when the citizen calls or comes into the police department, they're the most important person in that moment.
So I just have a grateful heart that I've been part of the history of Citrus Heights during the Henry Tingle era, and that as I, live out the rest of my life here and go about my business here, I can point to things and know that his hand touched it, and that the part that he played in creating and growing and giving us the quality of life that we enjoy here will stay with us long after he is retired.
We're really going to miss Henry, I tell you. Chris has got some big shoes to fill because Henry has been just super for our city.
First person that greeted me when I came in the door for the holiday party was Henry, and he gave me a bear hug beyond belief.
He always tells me, whenever your mom fries chicken, be sure to bring me a piece.
Your support is unparalleled to anyone that I've ever worked for before.
You lead from behind. I've noticed that. You aren't always out in front of projects and out in front of things. You let your staff take the praise.
I don't know if I have words that are adequate to express how I feel about you.
The city will miss you, the council will miss you.
And you're not just a nice person, you are a good person.
A real pleasure and a delight to work with you.
It excels, and Henry is one of the top city managers in the region, probably this nation. A city that's never been in debt, a city that's paid for everything by cash. No one has topped that.
We have to get better at fishing. Now's the time.
This table is always going to be reserved for you. All you got to do is show up, my friend.
I can't thank you enough for what you've done.
For his leadership in the city.
And the goals and the things that I've been able to achieve under your leadership.
Henry, your impact, it'll be felt for decades.
And I'll carry the lessons that you've taught me as I move forward.
Henry, you personify the phrase, leadership matters.
To be your successor, there's no greater honor for me than to take over as city manager and carry on your tremendous legacy. And one final thing I just wanted to make sure you know, we'll never go into debt. I can assure you that.
How you doing, Dad? It's been a long 18 years, but congratulations on your retirement, man. You really deserve it. I see you work hard my whole life, man. I'm glad to see you be able to relax and go hang out with moms, go do something fun.
It's your boy Damien here, back at it again. I'm the youngest. We grown up now, we got tattoos and stuff, but congratulations. No more riding on bikes, no more hospital bills. Go fishing or something, don't do anything active.
Love you very much, Pop. You don't know how much it meant to me seeing you put that suit on every morning. This is your night. I know you really deserve it. I'm reporting live from Waikiki. I wish I was there. I know I'm looking a little too scruffy. Wish I was looking a little bit better, but I've been working. All right, love you guys. You guys all have a good one.
Again, I am so proud of you for the work that you have done. You have illustrated your leadership, your commitment, your determination for many to see. You have also illustrated to your boys throughout your career that your dreams will come true if you just put in the work. With all that said, as you leave from the workplace, remember, I will be by your side, step by step, for this new, exciting adventure.
This opportunity calls for a song. And so on the count of 3, I think we should all sing for He's a Jolly Good Fellow. 1, 2, 3. For he's a jolly good fellow. For he's a jolly good fellow.
Happy retirement, Henry.
Thank you, Henry. Have a great retirement.
Farewell, Henry. Happy fishing.
Henry, we decided that you have to clone yourself twice. One to retire, one to stay here with us, and the other one to go to Washington and straighten out the mess there.
We'll miss you, Henry. Thank you, HT. Enjoy the retirement and bring us some barbecue.